Yes. So, a very warm welcome to all the participants and speakers joining us from across India and beyond. I am Sanchita, Deputy Manager of Sphere India, and on the behalf of Sphere India Academy, it is my privilege to welcome you today to this very important yet timely virtual consultation from Words to Action Charter of Rights for Frontline Humanitarian and Community Workers. Frontline humanitarian and community workers remain at the heart of the community response. Yet, their safety, well being, job security, equitable working conditions continue to be systematically overlooked. Recent global evidences highlight that the urgency of this issue, rising attacks on humanitarian and health workers, increasing job security among national and local actors, and growing psychosocial distress is increasing a lot. In response to this pressing realities, where India is very proud to collaborate with Humanitarian Aid International on advancing the Charter of Rights for frontline humanitarian and community workers. HAI has been doing a remarkable work and work towards championing this critical agenda through rigorous research, thoughtful advocacy, consistent engagement, and humanitarian networks to ensure frontline workers are heard, recognized, and protected with humanitarian systems. Along with the localization commitments under the Grand Bargain 2016, the Charter seeks to recognize frontline workers not merely as implementators of the aid but the right holders entitled to safety and security, fair and timely compensation, psychosocial support, participation in decision making, and freedom from discrimination. Today's consultation aims to move beyond the advocacy and principle and focus on translating these rights to institutional accountability, policy adoption, and practical implementation across humanitarian systems. We are honored to be joined by two very distinguished speakers from HAI whose leadership and contributions have been instrumental in shaping this initiative. We welcome Mr. Rajiv Kumar Jha, Director, DRR and Climate Change Adaptation at HAI, a seasoned development professional over 18 years of experience across South Asia. A graduate of JNU with a strong consulting background, he brings extensive expertise in DRR, climate change adaptation, sustainable development, international trade, non-profit leadership, and CSR, and consistently advance the right based and locally grounded humanitarian practice. We welcome you, sir. We are also joined by Mr. Nishan Joshi, an experienced humanitarian practitioner whose work spans public health coordination, humanitarian research and advocacy, security sector reform, and equitable humanitarian partnerships, including with the United Nations Department of Peace Operations. He is a co author of the report on the status of frontline humanitarian workers, which has documented the lived realities across 60 countries and directly informed the development of charter. He has also served as the principal coordinator of the local humanitarian roster, strengthening locally led and equitable humanitarian action across India. We welcome you. So we are deeply appreciate the exceptional leadership and commitment HAI is doing, whose work continues to elevate frontline workers and their voices and push the humanitarian system towards greater accountability, equity, and justice. We look forward for a very rich deliberation which will help to shape a shared advocacy roadmap and a joint call for action for the humanitarian agencies, donors, coordination platforms, and networks. With this, I once again welcome you all to look forward to a very thoughtful, focused, and yet action oriented consultation. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Sanchita, and a very good morning to everybody who's present here for this webinar. And thank you so much for joining us today. And the sincerest thank you to Sphere India and the wonderful Ms. Sanchita Biswas for allowing us this space and hosting this webinar. and giving us the opportunity to start a conversation. It would be an understatement to say that Sphere India has been consistently playing a role in strengthening quality, accountability, and people-centric humanitarian action within the entire uh, within all states of India. And we greatly and truly appreciate you giving us this platform. A little introduction. My name is Nishant Joshi. I am speaking on behalf of Humanitarian Aid International. Humanitarian Aid International works rooted in supporting locally led humanitarian responses in India. And we make sincere attempts to address some of the deeper structural issues that shape how humanitarian action is delivered, especially for those who are working closest to the crisis, i.e., frontline humanitarian workers. And that brings us to why we have gathered here today. For frontline humanitarian and community workers, who are the backbone of every humanitarian response. They are the first to respond and often the last to leave in many cases. Yet they continue serving for a long time after the crisis has faded away from the headlines. But still, across contexts, we see that these same humanitarian workers always face significant challenges, whether it is physical exhaustion, uh, emotional overburden, psychological effects, and within their day-to-day professional careers as well. And they do this often without adequate compensation, not so much as a health insurance or a life insurance. Some of them don't even have contracts with the organizations that they are supporting without any system or duty of care. So this is why, along with Protect Humanitarians, along with CWSA and 60 other endorsers around the world, and several from India as well, we have developed the Charter of Rights for Frontline Humanitarian and Community Workers. The Charter of Rights, as Ms. Biswas had just mentioned, is rooted on a previous report that we had prepared using evidences from the ground. We used evidence from 60 countries and over 700 frontline responders, and all of them had congruently given out the same message that they enjoy doing the work that they're doing, but they do not know how much longer they can go on like this and whether their mind and bodies can take it anymore. And that report was called the Report on the Status of Frontline Humanitarian Workers, which I'll leave for you in the chat to read later about. This charter that we are talking about today is specifically about moving from recognition to responsibility. We understand the kind of work that frontline workers do, and we recognize and applaud them, but the responsibility that we have towards them is often not translated in practice. The charter sets out a clear minimum standard of commitments around the safety, security, duty of care, fair recognition, and dignified working conditions, recognizing the need for mental health, psychological support, legal protection, and mechanisms that safeguard their grievance redressals. At its core, the Charter is built on one simple idea that the people delivering humanitarian assistance are not just part of the system, they're human beings whose well being is essential to the quality, ethics, and the sustainability of humanitarian action within India and worldwide. So, today's webinar I see as an opportunity to explore why this charter matters, how it can be used in practice, and what it would mean for organizations and networks like Sphere India and smaller local organizations like yourself, people who are present in this webinar today, to commit to it on a local level and take it up to scale so that people at the decision making table hear our voices. So, to take us through this charter in more detail, I am very pleased to hand the floor over to uh, Mr. Rajiv Kumar Jha, who is the head of disaster risk reduction and climate change adaptation at Humanitarian Aid International. Mr. Rajiv has been one of the principal authors of this charter, and he'll walk us through its key commitments and what they mean in the line of duty of care for frontline community workers. Rajiv, sir, please take the floor.
Ah, thank you, Nishan. And thank you, everybody, for this wonderful opportunity. And a lot of people may not be knowing it. I have also worked with Sphere for 3 months, way back in 2013, 14. And we were responding to the cyclone Phelan in Odisha. And I was the one who set up the entire Sphere team in Odisha. So you might be knowing the Shivani Rana and all that who's working co and all. So I was the one who brought her to this fair team and posted into Puri. And that time Miss Fair didn't have the advance to pay her, so I paid her from my own pocket. So these are a few stories I wanted to share before we start on all these issues. And because why I'm sharing it, because these small things matters when you are into the field and humanitarian space, and you are the one who connect, basically responsibility to have last mile connectivity, and you themselves you are not sure about how you connect, then the entire logistics operations and all the good talks remains in the paper. So that is a bit of my background with this fair. Then I moved on to Vaccinate for working as a consortium manager, and I went on to responded the on behalf of Vaccinate and the entire consortium for their cyclone Phelan. And the eco response report we wrote that year as a baseline report. I was the one principal author for that report. So just giving you some background about my relationship with this fair. So just for Chipas. But why we are talking today is the most important thing is that all of you have gone through your grindings of your life in individually at organizationally. But we want to talk about always, but in the name of organizational responsibilities and individual commitments, we shy away. But this is a very important topic we have to wanted to address, and we must address it. That is the status of frontline humanitarian workers, and we all are some way directly, indirectly, are part of it. Before coming to this webinar, I was just going through the Global Humanitarian over report just published today. Came out in the Relief Web. If you just see the report, it will say that there is a need to, they're appealing for 33 billion people and want to assist 13.5 million people, and around 56,000 civil population have been killed this year only. 56,000 from January to October. And the role of technology in the conflict has grown exponentially, such that the number of companies developing, manufacturing the drone has gone from 6 to 200. And that ensure that the access to the asymmetric areas with the help of drones are very easy in the battlefield or any conflict area. So you can hit your target with more cost effectively, do the damage, and in a way you also damage to the civilian infrastructure and the people in the hospitals and the workers. And there is a huge violation of humanitarian laws, human right laws. And if you also see one dimension which I wanted to address is that the span of conflict has increased dramatically. Conflicts are now protected and it's going on for years and years. There is no ending solution. So you are being a humanitarian worker, whatever capacity we are in, which part of the world we live in, end of doing part of the response, and maybe sometime day in the conflict zone and being risk of getting hit knowingly, unknowingly. So all that has exacerbated one after another, piling up. Fortunately, we are living in a definitely a safer world compared to other worlds, despite our own challenges. So that is why the issue of frontline workers, humanitarian workers, is very, very important. Uh, and that's why we wanted to highlight this issue to all of us, what we want to do and why we wanted to highlight that. Now, Nishant has already mentioned that last year we did the study on status of frontline workers, and that we, in a study survey, we spoke to more than 754 people across different regions. And one of the recommendation of the study was to have the Bill of Rights for frontline humanitarian workers. That these workers, these people, those who are working in the frontline areas, they should have some rights. They have the rights, but there should be applied to across the regions, across the organizations, some core rights. But the study did not constitute what are the core rights. They just say Bill of Rights should be, but what are the Bill of Rights? What it look like? What, how it unfold? What are the key things you want to say it? So this year we wanted to take that study further, and then we started discussing about what it should be. So we wanted to be very, very focused and very limited, so that it applies to everybody and every organization, whether big or small, in terms of resources and capacity and organizational reach out, can implement, not fully, at some extent. So based on that, I thought it will be a easy walk, easy cakewalk, but study was small, but it attracted a lot of attention from all the people around from across the region. And one after another, we kept working, keep working, keep working. So after 7 or 8 draft of that bill of rights, we're in a position to come out with a 6 or 7 brief pages of the Charter of Rights. Initially, it was called Bill of Rights, but later on we changed it to Charter of Rights because it was a concern that Bill of Rights tends towards a more legal document. We are an NGO, we are not a legal body. So we wanted to advocate, and also did want to be part of the legal matters. So we ensure that it will remain in the safe domain. So we change it to Charter of Rights, but the content remain the same. So what I will do is that I will take you through the what constitutes the Charter of Rights. Nishant has given some glimpse of it uh, through my sharing mode. I hope I could share. Let me, yeah, uh, yeah. So I can share, if you can see the screen. Uh, are you seeing the screen?
Yes, the screen is visible.
Okay, okay. So this is the uh, I mean basically the Charter of Rights, first document. You can see that, and you can also see that it has been widely endorsed by CGS Alliance. You might be knowing CGS Alliance is one of the largest alliance of different NGOs who promote the transparency and accountability. Coming to CGS Alliance was quite a big for us, and also supported by Humanitarian Advisory Group. That is another wonderful organization to be supported by. And Coast Foundation, you might be knowing, is Coast Bangladesh, and Community World Asia. They've worked a lot in Afghanistan and other part of the country, and Protect Humanitarians. You might be knowing the Protect Humanitarians is the one organization who actually strive to release the most of the humanitarian workers being taken prison by the different countries working into that. And he is the one who is the founder of the one Olivier, who is the founder of PH Humanitarians, and who actually strive for this kind of work. So we got a lot of support in a way for this study, for the work. This is one graph. I will say that there's no need to give a lot of importance. Already we have given you an idea. This it talks about where we are, how many people in which place have been lost their lives and all that you can see. uh, this is not moving. Okay. Yeah, study is moving now.
Yes, yes, it's
Yes. So, and you can also see the last year's studies report. If you go into that Google, you will see that study available. And this study has also been endorsed by a lot of organizations. If you go to the Save the Children website, they have taken the study into their resource center and prominently displaying this study as a part of their resource center, to you can download and you can see that what are the outcomes of the studies are. And then what we wanted to that for Charter of Rights, it is basically we wanted commitments on the basis of rights, safety, dignity, and this is basically vision statement of the Charter of Rights. Then comes to the core part, what we wanted to in Charter of Rights. We wanted to right to life and safety of the people, because we felt that it's a very very important things to have it. Secondly, also we wanted to have the local leadership in humanitarian response. You all have heard about nowadays is the agenda of localizations. How many percentage of resources local NGOs are getting, what kind of leadership we are getting, which kind of dynamics are being played between the national and international organizations these days, how the country's laws are being affected with each other. So we wanted to that the local leadership is to come out, and they get given a lot of importance in the humanitarian space, which has been by and large dominated by the, let's say, UN agencies and international NGOs. And so that was the one concern. Another was the just compensation. We wanted that the fair and equitable compensation for all. It doesn't mean that you all get the equal amount of compensation and the salaries, but based on the needs and the capacity of the organizations, what you can provide, so that the expats or the locals should not be working in the same conditions and the same area with the same capacity. You should have the compatibility and dignity of the working of that work culture. You should have the proper grievance mechanism. You all agree that this is the one area we always hush hush about in our respective organizations and respective work culture. We would tend to cover up so many things because sometimes we feel that the name of the organization will blow away. Sometimes our own dignity will blow away. So we continue to, let's say, suffer. If not suffer, then let go so many sensitive issues which may have been feeling and you wanted to express. So if until unless there is no authorized or authentic mechanism within the organization given by the organization to the frontline humanitarian workers, there will be chances that it will remain on paper. We also wanted to have protection and accountability, especially against the gender-based violence and all that. And we also wanted to have the promotion of mental health, because it's always a very very stressful work, especially those who are working in the humanitarian sector and those who have experience of responding to the humanitarian disasters, especially in a flood and cyclone. I remember in 2005 and 6, I was responding to the Bihar flood on behalf of UNDP, and I was posted in Patna. And government of Bihar has given the responsibility to the district, Patna district, that you respond to all the Bihar to their humanitarian response, because Patna was not flooded. Patna is the capital, and so they have all the resources and the markets to procure the materials. But the challenge was to take that humanitarian needs to the materials to the different districts and the places. And one of the component was the dropping from the air. And the district magistrate of Patna has given me the responsibility to fly into the helicopter to me to drop the humanitarian needs packages to the different parts of the Bihar, maybe in Madhubani, in Sitamarhi, somewhere in Begusarai, somewhere in all that. And I was given only one compass to see the direction, and two, pilot and two labor with me. And if you are riding into the helicopter and that you have experience of dropping the, food package from the top, it is quite heavy. It comes around 8 to 10 kg, at least one package of bag. And that too, dropping it from the air, and the backside of the helicopter is quite open. So a lot of winds are coming very fast and furious. And you are standing on the edge of the helicopter. And you have to drop the baggage packet of food to the people standing on the bank of the river, bank of the road, all those sides. And the helicopters are flying low. It's quite a dangerous situation. If you are not smart enough, you will be flying with the food package to the ground. And I did it for continuous 7 days, 10 to 4, 10 to 4 every day. And I was quite naive and innocent in a way. I took a risk because flying on the helicopter was more jing thing for me probably that time rather than dropping the food. That was a mistake though, but it was quite a stressful. After 7 days, I did a lot of good thing also, but when I came back to home and I couldn't sleep properly, I had a fatigue and nobody had to care of, nobody thought of to ask me how I'm feeling it. They just move on to another task. And I was quite mentally exhausted. Quite around a month, I couldn't properly think of anything because it was quite a different experience for me. So I'm sure so many people have gone through in your humanitarian response in different ways. Recently, we have been to the Manipur and we have seen how tough conditions were there, and that was a tough, but not the tough I have gone through. There's so many things. So the mental health was one component was coming out. It was not just the money, but your physical beingness. When you respond to those and you get affected by the plight of the people, those who are not having the clean water to drink, and you are in a position sometimes to provide them water, sometimes you just go and do assessment and come back. You are not in a position to give them a solution because your need is to work just to go and do assessment, give back report to the headquarter, and headquarter will decide upon which part of the district they want to respond. So despite knowing the problem, you are not a solution provider also. That also affects you. So a lot of things happens. So we wanted to address these as a part of the mental health. So we thought of 6 core rights should be given to part of the Charter of Rights, and that can be advocated to across the organizations. Now I will take you what we wanted within that right to life and safety. It is basically right to life safety. We wanted to talk about lack of equipment, evacuation plans, uh, audits, risk tolerance, all that we wanted to ensure that this should be part of the life safety and protections. So if you are crossing the river, you should be given the proper jackets, or if you are doing evacuation, you should be properly guided with the evacuation plans and the supports. Your evacuation life safety has to be properly audited at the yearly level by your organization. Some of the task has been challenging also because it also counts resources, but we wanted to advocate it, and so that if not fully, at least partially, it will be implemented by the organizations across the regions. And so that's we kept it. Another was compensation. You will agree that we all want the equitable pay structures, hardship allowances. Generally, we don't receive, especially national NGOs. A lot of international NGOs get in essential benefits like insurance. Gratuity, all these things. You probably you don't get, and probably it's difficult to talk on all these lines, because most of the humanitarian workers we work on the project basis, on small term contracts, and small term contracts and all that is very, very difficult to achieve. However, if you remember now, the government of India's new labor law has changed all this. So whether you are a gig worker or a small term worker or a direct worker or non-direct worker within any company, you have all the rights. So before we can talk of, there is somebody in the government list here who has talked on dignified compensation. We again talk of, and then grievance mechanism. We talked about right to appeal, accessibility, confidentiality, fast resolution, and zero retaliation. The two things, last one, let's say fast resolution and zero retaliation, we felt it's very, very important, because the moment you raise your grievance, there is a chance that you will be retaliated, because people will feel challenged, especially in hierarchy, and you feel probably your job at stake, and a lot of things can unfold, and people will group in, and uh, you will be asked, you will be post down, and then it's a very difficult spiral then, which will go. So we wanted to ensure that grievance mechanism protocol has to be maintained, and has to be resolution to be fast and without being in a position of retaliation. It should not be feel that somebody has raised a complaint doesn't mean that he is against you. He has just raised a complaint on the issue, and the organization has to resolve it on the basis of the merit of the issue, rather than taking it in terms of politics or dynamics within the organization. So that was another core area we wanted to address. And then again, protection and accountability. That is, humanitarian workers of equal protection, right to support, uh, advocacy for national rights and policy, protective safeguardings, and basically against the within the organization should not be gender-based violence, should be not to be promoted and all that. So we wanted to ensure that it is also related to some sense in the grievance mechanism, but it is more towards gender-based violence and advocacy of the national and global policy. So the organization should also implement within themselves, and as well as uh, advocate to these issue. And another one is the mental health I already talked of, which is protection to the right to mental health breaks. Generally, when you work in a hazardous conditions, you should have the right to take a break at least for a week or 10 days. If you have seen a lot of contracts of international contracts of INGOs, they always give you R&R, sort of relief and rehabilitation package of 1 week, coming back to your home. They will give you a flight and all that. And so you can come, or other, if you don't want to go away from your home, somewhere in spa and resort, you can go and stay there and come back. But these are limited. All these things are not applied to national organizations, national workers, local NGOs, and they are working in equally hardship conditions, equally tough conditions. But these laws are sometimes called as a very fancy laws, not applicable to our conditions. We are not fit in and all that, but actually we are fit in and we deserve it. It's different matter that we do. You don't get it, but you deserve it. You deserve it, and we have to ensure that this has to be listened by the organizations, their bosses, their supervisors, their donors, and these things has to be accounted within the budget of the organizations. Otherwise, if you see the trend of the disaster these days, I mean, if you let's say start from April to July, April to October or November, you will see continuous flood and cyclone happening across the region, just in only in India. I mean, earlier it was mostly in Bay of Bengal, but now it's crossing to the Arabian Sea also. Earlier, urban heat was not there. Now you have got the urban heat. Now you have got the cyclone. Now you have the flood. Now you have certain different crises, like virus-led responses are coming. So you are continuously on the foot, on the move. So you need a break, sort of a mental health break, uh, to ensure that you are in a right condition to respond to all these things. Because until unless you do not have it, it is very difficult for you or for anybody who is working in the humanitarian context, is to continue to work the way we used to continue. Probably we're continuing for last decade. It's going to be challenging more and more. The impact of climate change has definitely intensified the, I mean, types and intensity of the uh, hazards these days. So you are seeing intense flood in 3 days. Entire city is flooded. Then to meet that, you also have to respond that swiftly. Otherwise, you cannot. You will be in loss. So all that requires you to have that psychosocial support and mental health at organizational level. It's challenging to have it, but we are advocating it. And then local leadership and power distribution we're wanting building strong communities. We wanted the local procurement, promotion of local talent, promotion to local leaders, and the respecting the cultural competence. Often you see that somebody is coming from outside, and just in the office we call for the meeting, and then everybody has to listen that person whether his ideas are good enough or not so good enough. But we all nod your heads. Sometimes it happens. I used to do that. But if you think really that what some person is that talking, you know the question and you know the answer in your mind. So, and why it happens? Because you are following the line of the donor hierarchy, and that maybe have some disregard of cultural competence. And with the moment you speak up your mind, you will be asked to stay silent, because maintaining the resource is more important than speaking the truth. So, but we wanted to have that this kind of element in our core rights for frontline humanitarian and community workers, where your local leadership, local knowledge has to be respected. It will not happen till the time you ask for it. So we wanted to make a part of it. However, it is not very strongly related with the your compensation and mental grievances and all that. But to the part of the broader agenda, we wanted to ensure that it will be happen. It should happen. And then what we want to improve, we wanted to improve the overall systematic reforms in terms of policy changes, in terms of safety, in terms of commitments, in terms of rights. So together, we'll be working with the issue of Charter of Rights. It will be more system will be reformed, and hopefully from now onwards, at least we will try to see that how and where it is going, and we'll try to gather the evidences. Which organizations has done that? Which organizations has agreed to do that? Which organizations have set the timeline for do that? Or if they're doing it, that's fine. If not doing it, what are the plans? So we wanted to see how we're going to improve the conditions, and we want to collectively address these things: systematic reforms, commitments, safety, and dignity. All these things we wanted to check this. One challenge we face is the I mean, the how it is different from core humanitarian standards. Uh, if you have gone through CHS, everybody knows CHS is 9 commitments. So there was also a question that why there is a need of Charter of Rights. Already you have CHS who talks about 9 commitments. But we felt that CHS is more about transparency and accountability, and you more about documenting your those things at humanitarian standards, and you say that you oblige to that CHS for humanitarian standards. But the Charter of Rights is specifically talks about within that CHS, you can say a in a framework, plan of action for those people who matters to you most, and those basics you have to cover. It is more often in bringing things into an operation from the philosophy of uh, humanitarian standards. So until unless you do not have that philosophy, you will have a nice thing, but will not have the bone into it. So probably this separates from CHS to Charter of Rights. both are highly interlinked, and that is why Citizen Alliance has agreed to endorse I mean, approach. And I will conclude here from now with leaving you with a lot of questions, and I hope I can answer you some of your queries. Thank you very much for your time, and yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Rajiv sir, for emphasizing why humanitarian standards are more important than ever. Like for underscoring the issues faced by the frontline humanitarian workers and communities, and the community workers must remain central to those humanitarian actions. So your reflection, particularly on the need to recognize the frontline workers across sectors, the importance of six core rights, and the use of evidence such as data and displacement on the loss of lives help to clearly articulate why the Charter of Rights is both timely and essential for today's humanitarian context. Thank you so much. And we will now open the floor for discussion. We encourage the participants to write their question on the chat box or either raise their hand here and they can unmute yourself and speak. And they can also, okay, Mr. Kedeshwar Chaudhary has raised a hand. So please open your mic and feel free to speak.
Yeah, good afternoon, everybody. This is Kedar Chaudhary. This is from Odisha, Darbar Sahitya Sansad, and we are a local partner led by Hive. Uh, Actually, I have the long experience of working in disasters since 1999 super cyclone, and I have worked in Pan India in earthquakes, in floods, in cyclones, and some point of time, some for some time in Bangladesh and Afghanistan. Spear standard was introduced to that time. We get to know about the spear standards, but still, I find that these standards are more of recommendations, or no, actually, these are the points uh, where we should proceed to. And this study done by High for this Charter of Rights, also, I think this can be used as a very good advocacy tool. But practically, when we go to implement it in a particular disaster situation, there is no resources for that. Uh, in the country where the people are half fed, NGO, non-profit organizations, frontline workers, they are not even paid the no, low wage, average low wage rate in this country for laborers. In that context, uh, can we? I have always the thinking that can we implement it somewhere, or some donor or some kind of collaboration will be there. We can implement in some pilot. So that is my intention. I am not asking the question, but that is the intention, because resources is very scarce. When the admin cost, neither the government nor the donors nor anybody are there ready to provide the admin cost for the staff, how their security, their insurance, their those kind of things, how they will no take it. And okay, for the advocacy tool, it is a very good thing. We should try for it. It is okay. So, but my question still remains that when whether we can do it in a pilot so that we can show others that this is the happening. Rajiv sir can also
Yeah, I
put
mean,
some light
thank
on
you.
this.
You have raised a pertinent question. Let me answer you. What are in my limited capacity? You have raised a pertinent question. But my answer to you is that, sir, definitely as an individual, one organization, probably you were not in a position to do implement at your level, especially when you are a small organization. However, if you are working in a collective mode, then definitely you can use it as a collective bargaining chip with your donors. What is happening in the development practice or humanitarian sectors is that Even in within a one organizations, two departments are not talking with each other. If you are a WAS person, you continue to work in a WAS. If you are a livelihood person, you continue to work in the livelihood. But livelihood and WAS doesn't speak to each other. This is my project. This is your project. So the different organizations, INGOs and NGOs. So let me know how many times we have the actually collective meetings of all these INGOs and NGOs in India on these issues. We hardly come, sit and discuss these things collectively. However, we continue to invite each other on workshops, on project mode. We want to disseminate our results, our reports, and all that. So till the time you do not have a collective bargaining within ourselves, let's say if 15 or 20 head of the organizations will sit together and will say that we'll agree on ourselves that for these things we will pitch out together to all the donors, that look, this is our common stand across the region, across the NGOs about protecting the rights of humanitarian workers, so that the donors should ensure that some element has to be covered into their resources. Definitely they will not listen to us one go. Definitely they will say that resources are limited. The fact is that resources are not limited. If you see, the overall CSR funding in India is growing exponentially, and if you see the recent amendment is coming out in the CSR Act, Company Act. Earlier it was a 1,000 crore, ceilings, earlier 500 crore ceilings. Now it is coming to 100 crore. Mandatory. Earlier it was 500 crore. If you are a company of 500 crore, you have to mandatory CSR contribution was 2%. But now it is coming to 100 crore. So the number of companies who are going to ambit of the CSR are going mandatory, going to be increased, and so then money will increase. It's different matter that how they want to use the money. They want to recycle the money in different policies, different government dynamics, to enhance their company's prestige, to meet their own things rather than putting into actual CSR work. They love to give money to the government, so that when the moment they give the money to the government, they get in good book and they get some policy changes and the business will grow. So it is not always about lack of resources. It is about utilizing the, being honest about the resources, have it and using it. So there is a misconception about, despite that we are having developing countries, we are not competing with USA and the UK amount of funding and other funding, but still we have the funding. We don't get it. That's another matter. So until unless, let's say in Odessa you are working from, 20 organizations are sitting together, decided to come on one platform and raise this issue with all the donors. In next humanitarian cycle, if you are responding to the flood, please consider this, and you can have a joint appeal. I'm sure something will crack. I mean, not everything will be fall in line. So it's not just, you're right, it's advocacy tool, but probably if you have a collective bargaining, because end of the day they also have to work with somebody, and if they know that key, not only one person but two and three and four and all having the same voice, probably we'll have some leeway. That's the only way. Otherwise it will remain an advocacy tool, like other documents we have published, and like other things, you're right in a way. So it's a, now we'll have to see accordingly.
Thank you so much, sir. I can see Mr. Nishant has raised his hand. You want to add something, sir?
Yes, thank you so much. I think
Yes.
I agree with both Kedareshwar sir and Rajiv sir when they say that the way that organizations and professionals function in the humanitarian sector is very siloed and projectized. The reason for that is because we are often competing for funding. And there's also this innate desire to be able to stand up to the donor wishes and compliances. So we often don't budget these requirements into our proposals. If there is, see, movements are created by collective change. It's because we do not voice these concerns, as we do not see them as something integral to our operations. We do not put our foot down to be able to demand these rights for the people who are actually on ground operating on our behalf. So, as a collective, this is exactly what the Charter of Rights was designed to do. It's not written in stone. It is not a mandate or a policy document. It is a set of guidelines that asks NGOs, are you ready to put your foot down and to take a step forward to be able to grant the people who are working on the ground for you some sort of relief and access to uh, the same level of duty of care that is afforded to you. And yeah, I'm just going to end it there because I think we are going to run out of time. Before we take any more questions, may I just request to go through how anybody who's wishing to endorse the charter can do it and where you can find the charter? So, if I'm allowed to share my screen, I'm just going to quickly
Yes, please.
go through that. Yeah, please let me know if you can see my screen.
Yes, it is
Yeah.
visible.
Thank you so much. So I pasted the link for the Charter of Rights and the Frontline study both in the chats right here. If you go to the link, you would firstly be able to download the charter, and there's a link to the Frontline study as well, so that you can reference to it and see exactly where we drive these recommendations from. And then there's a link to endorse the charter. If you click here, you as a leader of your organization or somebody in charge of making decisions on your organizations, you can endorse the charter. It's a very simple and small form. And just below that, you can see the list of endorsers and the number of countries where this endorsement has come from. There are over 60, and every day we get 5 or 10 new uh, endorsers to this charter, which means that there is something resonating within this charter that uh, aid workers and organizations across the world actually want to be a part of. So whenever you do get the time, I request people please go through the Charter of Rights. And if you feel that it's something that actually resonates with you, if it holds some meaning to you, then be an endorser. Thank you so much. I'm going to pass the floor to Mr. Karthik Sharma, and I'm going to stop
Yes.
screen
Yeah.
sharing. Thank you.
Mr. Karthik, please open your mic. Yes.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much. Very wonderful discussion is going on here. So, my name is Karthik Sharma. I am pursuing my PhD from Punjab University, Chandigarh, in the field of disaster management. And while I'm listening to sir, and one very basic question comes to my mind is when I'm reading the Charter of Rights. So, sir, first thing is that I think the definition of humanitarian workers is not yet cleared anywhere. I have read many documents. I'm working on specifically the civil defense and the volunteerism part of disaster management in India, and I have read many documents, but I have not find anywhere a concrete definition that to whom we include in this definition of humanitarian workers. First thing is that, like, as I'm studying this Charter of Rights, so I have not find a single mention of civil defense, civil defense, home guard, NCC, NSS, and other sister organizations which are working similarly as other NGOs are working for the humanitarian aspect. First thing is that. Second is that, like the Western countries, they are doing, they are bringing all the agencies, the volunteer agencies, under a one umbrella called civil defense umbrella. So are we are focusing on that particular aspect, that we are also move toward to this particular aspect, that we should bring all the agencies under one umbrella, that would be civil defense, that would be home guard, and we can make a one organization which works for the betterment of people specifically. I'm just want to know from the sir that, sir, are we thinking about that aspect, or still we are lacking behind?
Ah, okay. See, you have two questions. One is not a question. First is a question. First thing is the definition of humanitarian workers. You write there is no universal definition of humanitarian workers, right? But there is a humanitarian space, and those who are working in those areas, especially into the ground, can be called humanitarian workers. So in your state of mind, humanitarian workers can be different, and my state of mind, humanitarian workers can be different. But by and large, it encompasses most of the ground level and middle level staff into the organizations. So at one point, CEO of an organization who is visiting into the field is can be termed also humanitarian workers for that particular moment or a day. But overall, when we see humanitarian workers, we what we meant is that working in the organizations at the work, those who are at the grassroots level, volunteers, low paid workers, coordinators, program officers, uh, all those people, those who are actually more into the action, more into the operations, more into the ground. Okay. And those who are more into the transitory mode of contract. There's those who live in for 3 months and 6 months and 8 months, because humanitarian response are also very time specific, context specific. So you may be a 5 or 10 people organizations or 20 people organizations, but the time of humanitarian need, you may need 20 people, and you bring those 20 people to deliver your goods, and you just pay them some honorarium, and rest is nothing. So those things, those 20 people who are being bring on the board, they should be treated equally. So you are right that technically there is no definition, and probably these agencies has to define it. They will hopefully one day they will define it. But when we see humanitarian and community workers, we meant for that. I'm sure you are a PhD student and you will come to this field. The definition will, after a couple of years of experience, definition will automatically come to your mind, and somebody will say that humanitarian workers. Automatically, you connect with that reference. There will be some reference point within your within your mind. Second, your question is about bringing one umbrella of something called the civil defense. It is difficult. It is difficult to bring one umbrella, home guard, and all that for one branch, one under one organization, because too many things are there. I mean, and it's very different. You already have a national disaster management force in India, and their primary job is to search and rescue to the people. And you are also so many different organizations governed by different mandates to work with. Right. Somebody work for the child protection, somebody work for gender protection, somebody work on private livelihood, somebody, was. So there is mixture of public and private partnership in this sector, and it will continue to remain so, because how the system and the structure has been developed for last 50 years, probably since the advent of Second World War, per se. Some of the organizations like Save the Children has come out of the First World War, but most of the organizations have come out of the Second World, and they have come out with different mandates and their purpose, and then we adopted some of their culture and all that. So it will be very difficult to bring them into one umbrella. But yes, what you can have is that you can have sort of synergy between them during humanitarian need, humanitarian crisis. They should not be competing with each other. They should not be overfilling the one space, and during time uh, bringing the equity to the resources. That is a challenge happens in all the coordination meetings. Police fair knows well that suddenly when you have a URS metrics, suddenly all the organizations are going into one village only, not into another village, because that village is near to the spot and maybe open to the more road, or maybe more politically sensitive. So that things need to be taken care of by the local administration. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. I hope Mr. Karthik, sir, has answered your question very briefly
Sudhanshu sir
and
want to
very,
speak.
yes. Yes, Sudhanshu, sir, please, this mic is, you can open your mic.
Sudhanshu sir, I think, yeah, we can't hear you. Could you please speak up?
We cannot hear him.
No, sir, I'm sorry. I don't think we cannot hear you.
Is it clear now?
Yes.
Yes, yes, sir.
Okay. So I just wanted to remind both of you that we tried giving a definition of frontline workers in our study, right? So that study can be referred by Mr. Karthik, where we have tried to define who the frontline workers are, and that study inspired this current Charter of Rights, right? That's it. Thank you.
Thank you
Yes.
so much, sir. I
Just want to
guess,
quickly add,
yes.
I've added the link to the frontline study in the chat as well. Sorry, Sanchita, please go ahead.
Yes, yes. No, think that should we take any more question or should we like move forward
Speak,
wrapping up?
Narendra. You wanted to speak?
Okay, yes.
Yes, am I audible?
Yes.
Yes.
Please go ahead.
Thanks, Rajesh sir and Nishant. Indeed, very much needed initiative, and I must congratulate both of you and HCI and other supporting organizations. To my mind, I would actually refer it as the Charter of Security Rights instead of Charter of Rights. Because there's a huge difference when I say it's a Charter of Rights. Probably I feel that it's for me, not for the decision makers. But in some cases, I think it's very important to empower both the person who is eligible for it and the person who is granting it actually. Like there was a in the history there were several standards, several principles, norms were come up, but I still feel that they were not implemented properly. Like we talk about the transparency and accountability, but do we really think that people are very much transparent, they are very much accountable? So and of course chas and all other sphere standards and everything. So my only submission to this team and to committee and the people that make sure that it would be implemented very in a very proper way, and then people should actually take the advantage of it. Because in the most of organizations what happens that people believe in transferring the risk, and the and of course it was what you brought in, actually it was an invisible uh, matter which is currently in front of the people. So thank you so much, and this is my submission. Thanks.
Yeah. Thank
Thank
you.
you so Thank you so much, Mr. Narendra. So moving forward, I would like to proceed with the vote of thanks. So, on the behalf of Sphere India and Sphere India Academy, I extend my sincere thanks to all the participants for joining us today's consultation from words to action, Charter of Rights for Humanitarian, Frontline Humanitarian, and Community Workers. Today's discussion reaffirmed the urgent needs to recognize the institutional rights of the frontline and the humanitarian workers and community workers, especially national and local actors. We are grateful to our distinguished speakers from HAI, Mr. Nishant and Mr. Rajiv sir, for their valuable insights and continued advocacy and to all the participants for their active engagement and thoughtful contributions. With this, we conclude today's session and look forward to more continued collaboration and translate commitments into meaningful action. Thank you and wishing you all a pleasant day ahead. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ms.
Thank you.
Vishwas, and
Thank you
thank you
very
so
much.
much, everybody,
Thank you,
for joining
Sanchita.
us today.
Thank you.
Wonderful session.
Bye.
Thank you.
Absolutely wonderful. Thank you.
Also, please check out the links HAI has provided in the chat box so that you can go through the Charter of Rights. Yes. Thank you.
Thanks.